You can make something that looks like a piano fairly easily, but to get it to sound like an instrument is very difficult.
You have people in love with their instruments.
I like the piano to sort of play back a little bit.
There's something really magical about this.
Cabinet makers are a dying breed.
See all the little scrapes and everything? That's what makes it, like, you feel like you're actually accomplishing something, you know?
Walnut, mahogany, ebony, no matter what it is, we have it covered.
You want to separate them?
What?
The way we build a piano today, it was built over 100 years ago. I can't think of anything else what we produce today, which is so conservative and where we haven't changed basically whatsoever, like the piano.
You know what gets me about it? It's like when I first got here, what do I know about pianos? I never played it enough. I was like, wow. When they told me the cost of it, I figured, what, 5,000, 25,000 just to start, you know? And just the way every floor is covered in pianos. And I know I can't afford, nobody I know can afford really pianos. So it's kind of cool because, like, you know, you take pride in it. If you look, like, you see all the little scrapes and everything, that's what makes it, like, you feel like you're actually accomplishing something, you know? Like, you take pride in it.
I've been doing pianos for 42 years, and I talk about pianos, I live pianos, and pianos my whole life. I think pianos have different personality, account of the wood and the hammer, the felt, everything is handmade. So every piano is a little different and sounds a little different. Every piano got its own personality, and you just gotta bring it out. Start over.
I think you can make something that looks like a piano, maybe fairly easily, but to get it to sound like an instrument, it's very difficult. The tone of the piano is so much not only a part of the wood, but even of the construction, that just the slightest variation can change the sound. It can even fail if you try to push it too fast. The conditioning room is the place where it rests, just like a person would rest and get ready for the next day.
This is one of my favorite spaces in the world, the basement of Steinway 57th Street, because I love being amongst the sea of instruments. There's something really magical about this for me.
Here in the concert department, Steinway has a bank of pianos that kind of rotate in and out of the basement. You know, pianists will come in and borrow them for a concert, and they can be sent anywhere around the city. They can be sent around the country, occasionally even around the world.
I selected my piano from this very room. They had 5 pianos from which I could choose. They know what I like. I have a tendency to be rather heavy-handed, and I like the piano to sort of play back a little bit. I like kind of a deep, heavy action.
It's really how your body reacts to the instrument and how the instrument responds to your, to your physical approach.
Hi. Hello. How are you today?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
How were your concerts over the weekend?
It was okay. Hello, lady.
When are you leaving?
I'm leaving tonight.
Yeah. And when are you coming back?
On the 13th night. And the concert is on the 15th.
I would suggest, and this is completely up to you, at the Carnegie, if at some point I can work on maybe the 79 and the new piano, Zenkel. Maybe if you have those 2 choices when you come in on the 13th, that would be sufficient. I think they're probably, at least as good as anything we have here. We could also select another piano here.
Thank you.
And possibly bring it over for that.
This was my question, of course, to know if there is an instrument that is a monster or rich enough in terms of time.
You want to try a couple pianos here for a few minutes just to see? You could just see how you feel on those, and let me see if we got anything else.
After the rim has been bent. We then remove it from the conditioning room and we start the process of building a piano.
Every 1/100th of an inch, even though the specs are the same for every piano, every 100th of an inch off will change. You do that 5 times, you got 3/100ths of an inch. Then the next guy does a 16th of an inch. The next guy blows a 32nd. By the end, you got a 1.5 feet. You know, so you can't have that.
The assembly from here on up is a continuous process, one operation building on the next. What I do down here affects another department upstairs. If all my tolerances are correct, all their parts will now fit correctly without any problems.
When I first looked inside of a piano, you know, you see the action of the hammers and all the levers, and you realize that there was a complicated mechanism there. The actual construction of the piano didn't impress me as much as the mechanism of the key causing the hammer to strike the strings. That always fascinated me.
A good piano is like a good actor. It need to have all kinds of different personality. Basically, you can play very, very solid, like a king, like an emperor, you know.
We can play things that are very, very intricate. Or we can just play something real basic. Just set up a groove.
And then need to have a very, very percussive sound. So, you know, it's like a complete art creation. So you need to have all kinds of different personalities.
For some reason, I like to work with wood. Maybe because I start very young and, you know, working with wood and I got used to. I have no idea, but I enjoy building piano. If I don't work physically, then I get nervous. I want to work physically. I like to work hard, put it this way. When I start, in my mind, I'm going to stay here maybe 5 years. So after 5 years, I'm going to leave and go to my country. But never happened. It's 32 years in the same department.
Being that there's so many different craftsmen involved, you have to remember that they also come from 18, 20, 25 different cultures. And they all have their own approach to a piece of wood, or a chisel, or a hammer, or how to use it. And all those individual techniques from different cultures tend to gel together, which is probably one of the reasons why each piano is an individual.
Yo cuando vine acá a lo mejor pensaba trabajar así en restaurante, eso era mi idea. Porque yo oía que todo el mundo que viene acá es a trabajar en restaurante.
Lavar platos.
Y ahora estamos juntos allá. Trabaja mi hijo, un sobrino, aquí mi hermano y otro sobrino también.
I remember when I got a memorandum saying there shall be no nepotism, no relatives should be hired for anything. And I said to my then boss, what do you want me to do, fire everybody in the factory, including myself and brother John? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. That's what it is. So, of course, we ignored it.
I guess a piano maker probably doesn't know what his exact finished product is going to be any more than you know when you're going to record a record or play live. There's so many things that go into putting a piano together that it's always a combination of elements and chemistry between all those elements coming together. Kenny Barron and I both went to the Steinway factory in Astoria to select pianos. Of course, since we're different musicians and different people, we had different choices.
This one. There's some that really speak to you and then some that are okay. Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, this is a, ooh. The double star by this one. No, when it's right, you know right away. 5, 6, 7.
The fact is, it's not an exact science. You may wake up in a great mood one day and a lousy mood the next. And all of those things come out in our expression of music because it isn't just technical. In fact, technique is just a way to get to the human part of the music, always.
I'm a plate feeder. I have the case, I have the plate, so I have to pull it together. I don't want to go anywhere on this Steinway piano, any part on this Steinway piano. I like this part. This is my part. January 3rd, I went to Carnegie Hall. I see my Steinway piano. I say, this is my piano. This is my piano. You say, what, your piano? I say, I make it. I don't see the name. I hear the sound. When you work with your hands, you know what you do. You know what you touch. Any mistake, any problem, you know, you touch with your hand, you know what the problem is. I don't know for somebody else, but for me, I close my eyes, I make it.
hard to judge, of course, in these acoustics. Very hard. They're beautiful, both of them. I would use them in another context and with another piece, certainly. But I don't have the feeling, and it's hard for me to judge so fast, that each of them could really bring the huge potential of warmth we need in this case.
I can certainly brighten up that piano there. I mean, we certainly get more pure sound out of it. Whether that's going to be pleasing to you is another question. So let's try a couple more. What the heck? Back in the heyday of piano making, the last, 1800s, I mean, there were literally, I think at some point, there was something like 1,600 different piano companies, at least different names. Now, whether they were all from different factories, I don't know. But now, there's just a handful.
There was the Soma Piano Company, it's gone. There was the National Piano Company downtown, is gone. Kohler and Campbell up in the Bronx is gone. And so we are the only one left, and it's never going back to the 1880s when you had to have a piano in your home, and Sears Roebuck sold them and all that sort of stuff. That's gone. So who knows what the future of the piano business is.
You can teach somebody how to do a job, but only time makes them better at it. The longer they do it, the better they get at it. Cabinet makers are a dying breed. It's very hard to go out in the street and find one today that can do the caliber work that we have out here. But one faces this way, one faces the other, but they're identical, just right and left.
This hand plan, I bring from Croatia, 1969. He's immigrant with me. I come over here because over there I got nothing to do, no living. So I have to go with a stomach for bread, looking for the bread. So that's I come to the United States. So I start coming to Steinway. I work already 32 years for them.
Bell is probably one of the most critical part, because whatever we put in there, basically, that's what is going to produce the sound, and you can easily make mistakes.
The soundboard is the soul of the piano. You know what the soundboard does? It simply picks up the vibration of the strings, greatly amplifies it, and throws it into the air. If we wouldn't have a soundboard, no matter how good the other wood is, you know how it would sound? Like an electric guitar which is not hooked up. It is a selection of wood which makes a tremendous difference.
Many of the craftsmen are imagining in their minds the slight difference in the cut that they're taking. You can't really measure it very accurately. The subtleness is in the hand, not in the actual ability to measure it with an instrument.
Little things like notching out the bridge is done by hand entirely. You can't really do it by machine because the angles switch a little bit, and you really got to do it by hand to get it right. There are many little things like that about the Steinway that do make the difference.
It's getting harder and harder to recruit the workforce. We can go outside and look for people that work, since we got a woodwork experience. Like what? I mean, nailing 2x4s? This is nothing like nailing 2x4s. But the reason I'm doing this is to make sure that there is no interference of any kind. The board has to be free of anything. It has to vibrate clearly, which it does, basically. This mark means that he's got to go 1 millimeter down with the plate. Right here, we need to have a 9 millimeters bearing, and he doesn't have it. So he has to do some more adjustments. That's it, we got another piano to check for now.
I remember that the first time my teacher put on a recording of Art Tatum playing the piano. And when the recording finished, I remember saying to him, well, that's no big deal. I mean, 2 people should be able to do that. And he said, no, that's 1 person playing all that piano. And I almost quit.
A piece gets me into the classical music was the actually cartoon, which is Tom and Jerry, and they're the Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 by Liszt. I remember here. And I remember that's the cat is doing that to the mouth, and then boop, there, boop. And I thought, first of all, I love the cartoon, and then I think, oh, if the cat and if this Tom and Jerry play so well, I like to be a pianist too. This is cool.
Planning to buy a grand piano for our son. I played as a child. 6 years I went to musical school, but I'm not so good. My father has pure musical ear and very talented, so he probably got his genes.
No, we owe him. My son has his genes, evidently, in music, and this is at least some way that we can repay my father-in-law. And he wants the privilege to be able to see it and to appreciate it while he can. That's why the urgency of getting a Steinway now.
I know. Oh my God.
See, it has wheels.
Looks so perfect.
У меня так, когда Рефи играет на пианино, мне кажется, что он играет это потому, что кое-что от меня перешло к нему. Оно ко мне возродилось. Мне казалось, что играет не только он, а и я тоже.
My big number from the time I was about 5 to 8 was when the Saints go marching in, and the whole, it's funny, I used to put all 4 beats on the left hand, simple triad. And I'd improvise. And then that was just the way I played it. I had that 4 on the floor, chink, 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 chink. And then one day I heard Errol Garner playing something like this. With his left hand playing on all 4 beats. And this is before I knew who Errol was, and I'm thinking, man, that guy's copying my style, man. He's coming into my turf. It was, my dad's like, well, okay, now I'll introduce you to Errol Garner. Yeah, man, I started to think, this is hard. I'm in for some serious education right now, and I got a long haul, because it's not easy.
There are not many things you can find in this world that are not mass-produced. We make about a little over 2,000 pianos a year, where other companies are making 100 pianos a day.
The thing about technology and other factories and the way the world's moving, it's not as easy to get someone on an assembly line with metal arms to touch up the string or to feel the lightness of the weight as you got to balance it and give it its proper height and proper touch. You're not going to get that from a piece of metal.
All this process of multiplying things has not been made always with the respect for handcraftsmanship. And we have lost so much. So we have to try to combine this modernity and traditions. And seeing beautiful human gesture and human body taking time for the love of the object or of realizing something is, of course, incomparable.
whole life has been from Ditmars Boulevard down. I lived right on Steinway Street and 20th Avenue. Then I moved on 20th Road. Then I moved to Crescent when I met my wife. I moved out of my parents' house. That was a glorious day for them, you know. Me, I'm a piano regulator. I just align everything, make sure it goes in sync. I align the hammers to the strings so they come up synchronized, everything's level, balanced. Just make sure everything's in sync. Things like that. That's pretty much my job.
Some pianos just resonate more than others. They have a particular sound that cannot be duplicated by any other piano. That's what makes them unique. And that is sort of a nebulous kind of difference that is only apparent to certain people with certain sensitivities about sound, you know.
If you see it leaning, it goes, it's coming up, it's cracking off to the left a little. You got to get them to where they're all synchronized with the string. See, this one's going in to the right now, turning in.
Now, see, on a piano that is completely compatible to me, those things that I was doing, little runs, they come easier. On this one, I'm forcing it, you see. The piano should be responsive to my approach, my touch. If I get that response back to me, then that's the piano for me.
I worked hard to get here. It wasn't like they just handed me this job. I did everything. I pushed plates, I did, you know what I mean, mixed mineral spirits, I sand, I planed. I worked my way through the ranks. This is my 11th year. I love it, you know. I make good money, I live close to home, and it supports my children. And anytime you do a great job, it just feels good. Even if you cook a good plate of spaghetti, you know what I mean? I could do that too.
I always felt that what is communicated during music making is more important than the vehicle with which you communicate it. But I still think that if you have the freedom of an instrument that can do a lot for you, that is very responsive, that it has a sort of natural range of colors and a naturally singing tone, that of course you're going to be capable of saying more with it.
It would be terrible to imagine only similar instruments. This could be a dream of robots. I think it's, for me, much more interesting that the instrument will give you unexpected combination of sounds, and this is stimulating your inspiration, your imagination.
This one is very nicely open.
Yeah, this is an older piano.
The problem, well, this kind of piece requires the largest scale of dynamics and sounds, isn't it? From the impossible sounds from incredibly small dimensions to the cosmic sounds.
We have a dilemma on our hands.
Sorry?
We have a dilemma.
Yeah, I know. Therefore, we're discussing.
The thing about the piano is it's so fleeting, you know what I mean? It's not like a painting where you finish the painting and it's done. You can go and look at it and touch it. I mean, this is the painting right here, you know? It's sort of waiting to be painted, and then you paint it, and then it's not there anymore. I mean, you just never know what's gonna happen.
I think that's probably the best one so far, but I have one that came back. It's ice cold. Just came back on the truck, so it's freezing. So maybe you should play with gloves on.
Here we are, but it's really very cold. But it sustains, huh? It stays. Yeah?
The monster you were looking for.
I play on the 24th.
So if I worked on the piano on the 24th and you came on the 25th, is that all right?
Perfect. That's
and
perfect.
met you like the middle of the day or something?
Perfect. Perfect.
Very good.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, 1,000 thanks.
Okay.
As ever.
Ooh, doggy.
My goal, it's an impossible goal. It's perfection. So therefore, what I try to do is come as close to that as I can. And the only way I know the only way I know to do it is the hard way, is the constant attention to trying to make an improvement on your last performance. That's my goal.
I am a tone regulator. I work basically on the concert grands. I work on the touch, the feel, the player's fingers to the keys. And I also work with the tone to find the voice of the piano and make it sound like it should.
Here we look a little bit high, but that's probably because this prop felt so loose.
You know, I didn't know anything about working on pianos when I first came here. I worked tuning for a while, and then I worked preparing the hammers for voicing. And then I voiced pianos for 10 years. I voiced and voiced. And then they thought that maybe I'd be ready to to work on some concert grands. When I first started working here, there was a lot of gentlemen on the verge of retirement, people who've been at piano making for 30, 40 years. These guys all worked on the concert grands, and they helped me out so much. I was really lucky.
All the people that came before us, the ones that trained us, gave us lessons, taught us, and moved on, same knowledge we're passing on to the ones coming up behind us. That's how we keep everything going.
It would be a tragedy for someone to have to go back and try to figure out some years from now how it was that Steinway built these great instruments. Much of what we do is not just a matter of our hands, but when our hands and our eyes and our hearts and our minds all work together. And much of that is given from one generation to the next.
Majority of the older generation that was here when I came is gone. I'm trying to pass on what I learned from them to the newcomers, because that's the way to keep it alive, to keep the quality of the craftsmanship alive. No, I'm not going to look at my own piano even after I'm done and say it's perfect, because it's never perfect. I hope that my work goes out of here and people are pleased with it and don't have to fuss around with it too much. But I'm sure there's always someone who's going to.
My job is to even out the tone. The piano's all finished, ready to go out the door. And I go over the notes and try to even out so everyone sound the same. I see all the work that went into making this piano. Bending the rim, fitting the plate. And at the end of the line, when I see this piano, I know how much work that went into it. It's a beautiful instrument. I know when I'm done, when I like the piano, when it sounds even, and when I feel, you got a feel in the piano. When you play the piano, every piano feel different. And when you feel it's easy to play and easy on the ears, then you know you got a piano.
This particular piano was actually my favorite right away. I liked, I would say, the immediacy of the sound, the directness on the attack. There's something very clear. This one sort of spoke to me immediately. Everyone and anyone sort of somehow involved in its destiny should be very proud.